How's it everyone? So I've been asked to do a video or two on the Camo and the Specimen Pro bait boat with the all-in-one system in place. Get a lot of common questions. So I thought let me just give you a rundown of both boats. Just check in the video, I'm going to try and make chapters where you can jump to certain boats or the certain points. But both will be in the same video. So let's start with the Specimen Pro bait boat. Which is this baby in front of us here. Alright, so obviously if we look at the boat itself, we've got our power button, we've got our two ports for our batteries, so each port will charge one battery. There's two batteries in the battery compartment. Here's your knobbies to tighten down the lid. So obviously after you've finished fishing, just break the seal that any moisture, it's a boat, all boats will get some moisture, that any moisture in here is, has some place to dissipate to, and that you don't compress the seal too much. So, and then obviously when you get back to the water you can tighten everything up. The handle itself, don't over tighten these screws at all, because they will have a bit of flex. Just tighten it hand tight. I've put the accessory on here now, so you'll see we've got our auger in here just for showing you. So this is the accessory port on the boat, and then our antenna screws on the front here. Okay, great. So let's get down to the business end. So we've got our remote, and this is going to be the same for the Camo. So a lot of features in here that I'm going to touch will be the same for the Camo and any other boat that I install our system in. So first things first, we're going to turn the remote on. Okay. First question I always get is, why does my remote not boot up? You've got to confirm with OK that you're now using our system. So OK, and we've got to turn the boat on. So we're going to turn our boat on. The boat is on. You'll see the signal icon here on the top left will start establishing connection. So now we're connected. I haven't put our aerial on, but we don't need it so close. Let's start at the top. That's question I get is, why is there a cross through this icon? That is the sonar icon. The cross is through it normally because it's either off or the boat is not in the water. Next question I get is, why is my sonar not working? Because the boat needs to be in the water for it to switch on, therefore it will not work, and that is why you have a cross normally there as well. That is our degrees over there. We've got our speaker there, so if you mute your speaker it will have a cross through it. That's the remote. Battery voltage, so it will start complaining when that battery is flat, and that is the boat voltage over there. Then we've got our functions and features at the bottom there. Next question I get is, why can't I see them anymore, or what's going on with them? You'll see this down arrow here has a dual function. If you push down, it takes the sonar into a full screen for you, to give you more viewing angle. To get out of that, you push down again. If you're in this menu, the full menu, your other features will not work until you exit that menu. Okay, so you've got to push the down arrow for it to escape. There we go. Sorry, I did something wrong there. Okay, cool. So now she's out of that menu. That is up and down to select points or features. That's the brightness of your screen. So if I push it now, we're at 90% nighttime mode. In fact, nighttime mode actually works quite cool for the camera, so let's leave it on that. That will also highlight. That's obviously forward, reverse, donuts. Cool. Obviously with the Camo you're not going to have reverse, and you might have a brushed boat and you will have reverse. This is to trim your boat. Very important on all our boats, or where the system is incorporated, or any GPS system. You want your boat to go as straight as possible so that your GPS has little work to do. So if you find that your boat is pulling left, you're going to then go right to compensate for the left pull, and if it's going right, you're going to go left to compensate the left pull. And you'll see over here at the bottom of the screen, it will change numerical number there. See, that is the intensity of your correction. Okay, so I'm going to go back to 0 because this boat is normally trimmed at 0. But if you have a single prop boat like the Kamo or any other boat, there will be some trimming aspect going on there. And then once you've got a true speed going, and once again I suggest you trim your boat at whatever autopilot speed you're running. So if you're running 50% autopilot, run your boat at 50%, trim it. Okay. It's impossible, especially on the Kamo, to trim it through the entire power band, because there is a natural torque instance going on, and it will always pull one way or the other through the throttle range. So you rather trim it at a designated speed, and then you know the boat's going straight in your autopilot speed, if that makes sense. Okay, and that I set to mute. That's to power down. Hold it in for 3 seconds, it powers off. It's your menu, your lights on and off. So let's put the bright lights off there, so they're off, and you'll see there's an icon over here. It's on. That's to pause your sonar. If the sonar is moving, it's paused. You'll see there's a P there. That's another question. Why is there a P in my sonar? It sounds bad, right? It's because you've paused it. I've unpaused it now, and now it's moving. That is your create home. So obviously we want 6 and up satellite-wise. The more satellites you have, the more accurate your GPS points will be. So you'll see over there on the screen, it says 2 meters. If I hold home, it now goes to 0. Okay, I put the sonar off. It goes to 0. So now home is saved. You can just keep resaving home. You can't save multiple homes. You save one home. Okay, so we keep saving it, we just keep saving over it. So we want to save your home point left or right of your swim, not so it doesn't come back over lines. So now I've saved home. This is to turn sonar on and off. You'll see there's a sonar icon at the bottom there. That little one changes over there. That's your sonar on and off. This is to come home. Some people tend to get the two confused. So if you're in the middle of the dam and you want to come home, you would say come home, but if you've now pushed home, then your home is now in the middle of the dam, and if you come home, it's going to be in the middle of the dam. So be careful not to overwrite your home by getting confused with these two functions. So that's to save home. I've saved it, it's gone back to 0, and then we want to come home. The boat's already home, so it's not going to go anywhere. This is to escape autopilot. So if you're running your boat in autopilot, you want to cancel it, you just push escape. Or if you move your throttle or whatever, it will cancel automatically. There's your points of interest, or your GPS site, shall I say. So let's say we want to save a point. You'll see here on the screen it says target 1. That is our locations. That target 1, that 1 represents the dam that we're working under, or the location we're working under. And 1 is the point in that location. I will show you now where to change your dams or your location settings now in the menu. So we're working under dam 1. So we've got our little black book, and we've written there that replay, for instance, is dam 1. And or you could use it in the case of swims. So if you're fishing a particular dam very often, you could make it swim 1, swim 2, swim 3, whatever. And any points that you save will then be under that target. Okay. So I want to save a point. I just go save. It says there replace it, which means there's data already there. I've obviously saved a point on that spot before. I can just save over it by saying okay. Now I've resaved over that. I want to save over another point. I go save. I go up and down with my arrows here to change the number. Let's say 0.3. Okay, now I've saved 0.3. So now we've got 2 points saved. I can delete a point if I want, or I can just save over it as many times as I like. So let's just say I want to delete it. It says to delete, which means I can delete that point. But if I go down or up, it says cleanly, which means there's no data on that point. So there's nothing to delete. So if I go down to 3, I can delete it. I say okay. So now it's deleted. I want to go to a point of interest. I go point, and you'll see it says it's red. That means there's no data there. I've just deleted it, right? If I go down, point 2 is 10 meters away. And that could be because we had more satellites when we saved at that point. So there will be a bit of a hover every now and again. We're indoors at the moment. But you'll see there's a dot, there's 2 dots. One being your home point and the other one being your point of interest. So you'll see this dot will jump. So if you chose dot 1 will be there, point 2 might be there, the second rod and the third rod might be that side. So you'll see it'll hop around. So you can kind of see if you've forgotten which rod was what, you'll see that point jump around. It's obviously on the table, yes, it's not going to jump anywhere. And then if we want to go to that point, we just say go. And it will drive to that point, but we're already on the point, so it's not going to go anywhere. That's it. So very simple. If you want to exit, if you're in this and you want to just get out of it, you just push exit over here, and that escapes this function here. All right. On our bait boat, on this SP, the Specimen Pro, this is now your left hopper. So let's just go there again. So we've opened up the one hopper there, and that's the other one, and that's going to drop down there. And I'm going to pick them up. Once again, you just pick them up by pushing back on the stick again. So that's the left one back up again. And you'll see the doors are represented by a little square there in the corner. So if I open it up again, you'll see that the doors open. So if you're not sure if your door's open or closed, you just make sure that's closed so that you can autopilot back home again. You don't want a bucket dragging in the water, so it's always recommended you pick them up before driving back in autopilot. These are your hook releases. You'll see there's an icon there on the screen that changes. Those are the hook releases. So that's the one hook release, that's the other hook release. Okay, and the hook releases are these over here. So that's one hook release, that's the other one. Okay. Let's get into the menu of the boat. Okay, we can see that. There's our satellites, our time of day, our GPS coordinates. Now, very important in the menu, especially on this boat, there's a few more features to go through. So that is your voltage of the main battery. That's when it's going to warn you when it's low. That's the voltage of the remote. It's going to warn you when it's at 3.7. Safe distance. So if you go into that, you can obviously make it more or less. By default, it's on 3 meters. Near to target, it will emit a tone. So when it reaches its point of interest, it's going to start beeping, and it's going to do that within the 3 meter radius, so that you kind of know that it's almost time to drop bait, and you could make that more or less whatever you want it to be. That is your backlight default. I've obviously made it brighter earlier. It won't work now, but we're on 95% now. So by default, it's on 50%. You can see there 50. It will boot to 50% brightness on startup. In this menu, there's a background menu. You'll see 4-color system. You can make it a 7-color system if you want. But I just find that the 4-color works better on the remote, so we leave it on 4. It's a 3-in-1 system. You leave that alone. Most guys phone me and they said, well, the fish finder ain't working, or the GPS isn't working, because they've gone and changed this. You can see it's just remote and sonar only, no GPS. Only remote and GPS. But we've got a 3-in-1, so we leave it on 3-in-1. Your time of day. Your time of day will only show once you've got GPS, and you can change your time by using the up and down. That is the right time. We say OK. This is the fish finder filters. So one is our default filter, which works best. But if you find that you're picking up a lot of debris and stuff in the water, a lot of noise, you can use 0. It'll filter out the noise. And if you go up 2, 3, 4, and 5, it's just different color schemes. So we just use 1. Great. Fish sensitivity. So 3, at 1 you're going to pick up every living organism. So we want to pick up the big fish. So I say from 3 to 4 is big boys, and then the X will show you no fish but just ground as far as I remember. Give you no icons. So we're going to go 3. Cool, and then it's meters, you confirm meters. Direction trim, this is quite an important one on this boat, not so much the other boats, and I'll explain why. So under direction trim, on the Specimen Pro you can change your throttle to work on either side, so you can make it work on the right. So we've got power on the left, so we've got a power left, and you've got power free, but you've also got power hold. I'll explain that to you now. So power free is our normal mode. Okay, so we've got power free and power hold. So let me enable power hold. I'll show you what it does now. So we're going to say power hold is enabled. This is the driver that we're using for the Specimen Pro. There's 2 that you can use. It's the D0 and the D1. The difference is, let's put it on D0 and I'll show you now. D0, okay. Make sure all your sticks are centered. So if you had the Kamo, it would be down, for instance. But we're using the Specimen Pro, so all sticks are centered. Cool. I'll show you now what power hold is. Let me just go out of the menu. If you're in the menu and you want to just jump to quit, just push menu again, it jumps to quit and you say okay. So remember our sonar icon earlier wasn't red. Now it's red. So now we've got power hold enabled, and it takes control of your sonar button now. So power hold is, if I hold this in now, the boat just keeps going. So now it's got like a cruise control. But if you want to turn it off, push sonar, it disables power hold, and now power hold will not work. The downfall is that your sonar will be going 24/7. Okay. So if you don't want that, then you'll just have to enable power hold when you want to use it in the menu. But for now, it's taken over your button here, and that is, there we go. Okay. If you push down, it'll cancel it, but you can turn it off here. Turn the feature off, that is. Okay. And then D1 and D0 in the driver that I mentioned, you'll see that the lights on the boat the lights are off now. They're on, they're off. But with D0, your lights will flash all the time. Some guys, obviously depending on how far out you are, you might not know if the boat's actually moving forward or not, because you don't know if it's got power. This will just give you an indication that there's power on the motors, and it will flash at the back as well, that there's power on the motors, and there she goes. Okay, so that's that driver. I'll turn it off now again just to show you. So we're going to go back into the menu, and we're going to go into that power hold. We're going to turn it off, put it back onto power free, and I'm going to use D1 now. I don't want my lights to flash. I want to save some battery, and I can see it's moving, so I don't care. Centered. Cool. Now our boat won't flash lights anymore. See, the lights aren't flashing. Sharp. There's our locations, there's our dams, there's our swims. You can adjust it there. Get your black book and say Reeflays Dam 1, Carpediem Dam 2, Aqua Dam 3, or I fish Reeflay only. Swim 40 is number 1, swim 41 is number 2, whatever. Use your discretion there. Then your channels. So on the Kamo, the only thing that's going to change here is the channel 3 will be a negative. But I'll show you that now. This is very important. Autopilot trim. So 11 is the intensity of the correction. If your boat's doing this all the time, it's got maybe too much correction, you want to go lower in this number. If you're getting that it's doing a slow arc, you need more correction, you're going to go higher. 11 is normally a good medium for all boats, and we leave it on M. And in the background of that menu is your autopilot speed. So on this boat we use 90, that's fine, that's not a problem. But if you're running the Kamo and stuff, I'll show you that now. So we leave it on 90 on this boat. That's to recalibrate your compass. The compass only works when your remote is flat. As soon as you lift it past 20 degrees, the compass locks. It will not give you an indication as to what's happening. And keep in mind your compass, any digital compass is accurate to about 15 degrees, so there'll be a 15 degree error at some point. Okay. Code setting, quite an important option this. If you find that the system's misbehaving, something's not kosher, just repair the remote in the system, and by doing that it should resolve problems. How to do it is, boat should be off, so let's turn the boat off. Boat is off, we select code setting, it jumps to quit, we turn the boat on quickly. You'll see it goes green, it connects, and it jumps to quit, and we are now paired again. So if you had any issues, that might resolve most issues. Alright, and then one other thing, if you've got an accessory on the boat, like I've got the auger now, I've got the auger in place, right, over there, in the accessory port. If you want to use that, obviously we're on the right bucket, right? We are going to drop, see there's our buckets, we're going to drop the right bucket. She's opened, now the auger is exposed there, and we want to activate that one. We're going to go to external device, okay, and we push up. Now you'll see the auger is turning. Auger's turning because we're now on the accessory port. So if it was the auger, if it was the spinner that we had, it would now drop your bait and you drive the boat around. And then we want to get out of that external memory. We push external again. We're back to our buckets. We can now close the right bucket again. And yeah, that's it. So that's how you use the accessories, and that's only relevant to the Specimen Pro bait boat. The Kamo doesn't need the accessory options. And that is that. I think I've touched on all bases. Very important. Another common question is the boat goes out like 100 meters and then it starts dropping bait and turning around. That's because you haven't got your antenna on the boat most of the time. Yeah, I think that covers everything. I'm going to cover the Kamo settings next, and then the other boats that we would install it in I'll touch on shortly. Great, and then hopefully that will answer any questions anyone has. Alright, so now we're on the Kamo section. So everyone knows the Kamo, right? So if you're running the all-in-one system, this boat doesn't have it on, but the concept is the same. So we've got main power, LED lights, spinner on. This is just a safety switch. The spinner is actually controlled by a separate micro switch, which I'll show you now. So in the boat we've got main power, battery backup. You will see there's two micro switches here. One controls, the lighting's a bit crappy, but anyway, one controls the battery backup and one is the spinner. Okay, so if you find that something's not working, it could be that one of these arms have broken off, knocked off. When guys change batteries, sometimes they knock things. That's for that. And yeah, so let me get down to the system in question. So if you're using the all-in-one on the Kamo, we are going to have the following settings, and that'll go for most boats with this system. So we're going to turn the system on first, and it's confirm with OK, and we're going to turn our boat on, but this boat isn't connected to this remote, so I'm going to just mute the speaker so you can see everything else. So we'll establish connection again. We would have our boat voltage over there if we were connected. Our fish finder would kick in, but by default the Kamo and any other boat that's not a Specimen Pro boat, the default will be your LEs will be off anyway, and your sonar will boot as off. You'll have to turn them on now. On the Specimen Pro boat, it's vice versa. The lights boot to on, and so does the sonar. Okay, so I can't show you GPS points now because I don't have it in this boat, but we've covered all of that in the previous video for the Specimen Pro. So all I need to show you really is the difference between the driver on the system, and that's that. So let's try this. It seems to work better on camera, on dim. Okay, so we want, once again, for autopilot on a single prop boat, it's quite important to trim your boat correctly. A lot of guys ask me, but it's pulling left or right and it's not going straight. It's because, you know, you're moving the boat around, you're packing it in a bag, you may have tweaked the rudder or done something, you never know. So we want to trim your boat at autopilot speed. So if you're using 50% autopilot speed, you're going to run your boat at 50%, more or less. You'll know what speed that is, and you're going to trim your boat left or right. Make sure she's running straight, and then you can start using autopilot. Okay, so in the menu, the only difference you're going to get is, first of all, your autopilot speed. You're going to run 11M, okay. And if you're running a 3-cell boat, I would suggest 50% autopilot speed. Okay. If you're running a 4-cell boat, then I would say 45% general is a good speed. So 4-cell 45, 3-cell 50. You can go lower if you want, but that's where I generally run the autopilot at. So common questions is, geez, my boat's trying to hoy itself over in autopilot. It's because you're running it at 90%. Run it at 50 or 45. That should sort you out. Okay. Then your channel will be negative here on the camo. Everything else will be the same. And then in your direction trim, you cannot change the sticks. Okay, so you leave it on left. Can't change it. You cannot use this feature, power free and power hold. You just keep it on power free. Don't change it. And then this is the driver that we use for the brushless system. On the system is DIR1 is brushless motors. DIR2 is brushed motors. Okay, so if I've installed this in a brushed boat, chances are you've got reverse. Your stick will be there, and you're using DIR2. You're using a camo, stick's going to be down. You're going to be using DIR1. If you change this option, you will get some undesired results. So we want to keep the camo on DIR1. There we go. Make sure all the sticks are where they're supposed to be. So it'll be a down position, center position. Let it stabilize. Say okay. Great. Everything else remains the same. Your voltage will be set up according to what battery you're running. So if you're running a 3-cell battery, probably at 11 volts. If you're running 4-cell, probably about 14.8 at that point. Great, that's all cool in the hood. And we jump to quit. And then for the camo, down is the spinner. Up is battery backup. In order to use battery backup, you need to hold it there all the time. That engages the little micro switch in the boat, and you drive the boat back to safety until you can charge your main battery. Let go, you're on main battery again. Right will be your rear bucket. Left doesn't work. There's normally a stick something in here, so you can't go left. So that'll go there. And if you've got a dual bucket boat, maybe a brushed boat, that'll be your buckets there. Okay. GPS, everything else works the same. And then you'll see, if you're not sure if you're in the right driver, Carpediem is the DIR1, and if you made it DIR2, it'll be D2 there, and that'll be an indication that you're in the correct driver for the boat. I think that covers all aspects. And then obviously make sure your antenna's on the boat, because once again, when you run out of range, it's going to drop the buckets, it's going to spin the spinner, it's going to unload all bait that it can, and then it's going to come home. And I have questions where the guy says, well, I'm going 100 meters and it's turning around on me. It's because he hasn't put the antenna on the boat, for instance. All right. Yeah, and then obviously it'll turn your lights on and your sonar on, and that's really the only difference between the setups on the boats. But once again, very important, remember autopilot speeds and remember which drivers you're using. Everything else remains the same. Cool. Any questions? Drop me a line. Oh yes, and turn boat off first and then remote, okay? Otherwise she's going to spin you in the face there with all your bait.